The next speaker is Cameron Brooks. What I learned from Butch Cassidy about energy policy. We're all intrigued. Welcome.
So I'd like you to meet Harvey here. Harvey would like to challenge Butch Cassidy for control of the Hole in the Wall gang. But what he doesn't know, and some of you probably do, is that Butch is going to soon very casually start a conversation about the rules, kick Harvey in the nuts, and the fight's over before it even began. So here's the first lesson that I take away about energy policy. Always watch out for the guy who's talking about the rules, because he's the one getting ready to kick you in the balls. And I think that's been happening to clean energy over the years. Take a community wind energy project. You can build it, but you have to sell all the power to somebody. You can't use any of it yourself if you want to take advantage of the tax rules. You can put solar panels on top of your house, but you can't connect them to any storage. You can't use financing in most states. And there's really only one rate available, and that tends to undervalue the peak production, peak hour production that you get. So the technology really has clipped wings, a lot like this smart meter that sits on the side of my house that was designed to give me real-time information that I could use to better manage my energy. But the utility simply decided, we're not going to share that information with you. You can't have it. Instead, what they'd rather do is label solar customers as bandits, reverse Robin Hoods, who are rich people stealing from the poor. Now, that tends to sort of mask what they put out in their own writings about what they really feel about solar, which is that it's a lower-cost product that provides a better service and probably will open up new markets. So in other words, it's a threat that we need to be protected against. I think that Thomas Edison would probably be rolling over in his grave to see his name on that report. And our friend Bill here, if he thinks that the Capitol steps are tough, just wait till he goes down the street to the Public Utility Commission, because there he's going to meet a team of lawyers who are waiting to spend the next 2 years administering what I think of as death by 1,000 regulations. So we end up with a $1 billion a day walled garden. You either have to play by the utilities rules or you're going to get kicked in the crotch. Now, I don't limit my far-flung analogies just to the movies. I also bring in science and nature, like this depiction of a solar system that's actually the utilities in California revolving around their Public Utility Commission. I've built up a periodic table of state policy that shows a sort of unique, almost crystalline structure of each of the markets. I've got a taxonomic scheme. I've got an 8-fold path for any of you Buddhists out in the audience. And I like to take a ranking of utilities by size, and that quickly becomes a series of mountains off in the far-flung range of Gridtopia. I spend a lot of time at regulatory hearings. I've got to do something to keep myself entertained. There's no doubt about it. Now, we also get a little bit of a groin shot from some of the laws that define how we're going to develop the economics. So one of those is the rule that got codified that basically says cost is how we should define rates. And what that does is it leaves us with this basic formula, where revenue is based on the amount of money you invest, all your expenses are recovered, no matter how inefficient they are, and all the fuel costs and the fuel risks, you simply get to pass on to the consumers. So what basis would there be to invest in innovation? None. And the numbers show that. I mean, under the best case scenario of the most recent numbers, we won't even get to 3% of energy invested into anything related to energy efficiency. So unlike our friend, not a duck, but a penguin, we're not going to get there by flapping harder. We've got to switch. We've got to change what the rules look like. And I know that that's not an easy thing to do, and it's going to require us to challenge some of our own assumptions and some of the received wisdoms that we have, probably the biggest one being that somehow we need to find a set of rules that the utility is going to like before they get adopted. There's no way we can do that. AT&T didn't like the rules that were being proposed, and yet we moved forward there, and it seemed to work out for us. Now, it's a pretty ambitious goal to try to change some of the rules, and I can't say that I know what it's going to really look like when we get there. But I think that if we do start to change some of the rules, then the elements that you saw before, the molecular structures, can begin to shift very quickly and realign. And that brings me to the last lesson that Butch Cassidy tells us, which is that sometimes when you're on a path and you're being chased, and you're being shot at, and you're battered and bruised, and you don't think you can swim, you still have to jump off the cliff, and you may just learn that we actually can swim. Thank you.
Very nice, Cameron. I totally agree with that. So how did that movie end up, Cameron? I can't remember. Something bad might have happened after all that. So it was okay. It turned out okay, didn't it? They don't let me watch the end of Bambi either.